There is not a single place that I've come back from that hasn't changed me as a person, and one of those I wanted to pay a special tribute to before I start this next video, and that is when I travelled to Palestine in 2019. It's really important, given that everything that's happening in the world, and Gaza specifically right now, that I do pay tribute, because they are a voice that is being quashed and being silenced, and if we don't use our platforms, however small or big they may be, if we don't use them in order to raise awareness, pay homage, to amplify the voices of the oppressed, then I don't really want it. So I did want to take a moment here to remember that while we are putting out these videos, we do have the people of Gaza in our hearts and in our minds.
The Israeli military has continued its bombing of the Gaza Strip overnight.
Israeli forces have stormed the main hospital in southern Gaza.
In the southern Gaza Strip have left more than 100 Palestinians dead, including children and babies.
This is a missile attack on Palestine Tower, right in the middle of Gaza City.
The Israeli forces have stormed the Al-Nasser hospital in the Gaza Strip.
241 people have been killed in the past 24 hours.
We're having great difficulty getting aid into Gaza.
ايش اللي صار يا حاج؟ ايش اللي صار؟
قاعدين بنقبض طبيعي ولا حاجه، بنقبض الناس يعني مش كهرباء ولا ميه. الدور عائلات فينا كل الدور فيها ألف منظر غيرك يا رب، يا رب حذرونا.
Now it's not even safe to walk. Like as you can see here, this building caught a fire as well, other than the bombardment.
I hope that from these videos you gain inspiration to travel, and when Palestine and Gaza is free and ready to be traveled to again, I hope that you will pay it a visit, because if there's one thing that I remember from when I went in 2019, every market stall owner, every local that I would pass would recognize that I'm a tourist, and they would always say thank you for not forgetting us, thank you for remembering us, and please do come back again. And those words will always remain with me, and I made it kind of my mission to, when I returned, to tell all of my friends and families to encourage themselves to go, and to make sure that you also perhaps take the initiative to pay a visit one day, and perhaps that will form videos for the future. But for now, let's get cracking straight on to Mumbai. So, I have my kadak chai with me because that is one of the things I remember massively from India, Mumbai especially, because it was on tap. I actually landed in Mumbai, I think either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day exactly, and it was definitely not how I imagined it to be. Surprisingly, I fell in love with it, and I didn't think I would, but that's because I'm such a village traveller, a kind of off the beaten track, off the dusty path, the ones that are kind of maverick, the ones that are not so well known. I tend to stay away from cities, but for some reason I fell in love with city life here, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. But it's always a good idea to take a moment to pause and stop. You have been with me on this wellness travel coaching from Kashmir to Amritsar to Jaipur, Udaipur, Ahmedabad, and now we're in our 6th destination of Mumbai, the 6th city that I did around India. So what have we learned so far? Lots. You'll have to watch all the previous videos to find out exactly what those individual lessons were. But I think it's really important to also pause and reflect in terms of what is it that you're getting out of these travels. By now, I hadn't fully gotten tired because I was still looking forward to seeing different things in Kerala, in Banaras, for example. I wasn't really expecting much from Mumbai, but I did find good connection and good soul food there, which was surprising and beautiful as well. So it's really crucial that you are reflecting throughout, but also you take designated moments to pause as well in order to do that. And that's why I think it's really important that we do spend some time in this video to actually just take a moment and recognize what have you achieved so far from watching these series, what have you managed to understand about yourself, and are you inspired to perhaps take a journey for yourself. What an interesting hostel I'm at in Mumbai. I really can't tell if I feel safe here or not yet. I know that's a contentious word and phrase to be using, but still. I think it's just because it's so busy, people coming and going, but also really open. I'm not sure how comfortable I feel about that. But anyway, here's the common area. The guy running the place seems really, really nice. There's some kitchen there, some seating areas. As you can see there, some books, billiards, etc., etc. It's really open plan. So there's a nice breeze coming in and out. It's really sunny outside. I've come about a couple of hours ago, and all I've done is just sat on my bed and tap away, trying to organise accommodation for Goa. It's not looking good at the moment, but I think I'm going to venture out now, go for a little walk, go to the pharmacy. I need to find some glasses for my face, and then maybe get some food, find a masjid, and then go from there. So I'll catch you later on. Peace. I do not look good there at all, and I'm a little bit sad, but also whatever. I'm publishing it out to the world, so you can see that is the reality of traveling. By now you can tell my hair and beard are not the same texture because I'm not using shampoo. The whole purpose of traveling is to travel light as well, and I'm kind of using the bare essentials. This is the moment I find out that shampoo is probably one of the bare essentials for me, and I can't just use soap. My beard and my hair are quite dry and coarse at this stage, and you can see from my eyes as well that the air conditioning at the airports, the planes, it's doing me a number. My eyes are quite sunken, I'm feeling tired, you can tell as well. And the first thing I actually mentioned was that I don't feel very safe, and that's probably because it was so open. The hostel itself was beautiful. Like I said, I loved it, I fell in love with it, but when I first went, I didn't feel so safe, and I wonder if that's because I'd spent most of my time up until then being quite reserved. Having my own individual Airbnbs, for example. I mean, even in Amritsar, where I did have the hostel, I was in and out, didn't really communicate with anyone. So, not entirely sure what was happening there. But certainly, when I first arrived in Mumbai, it felt there was something a little bit odd about how everything was so open. There were no real lockers, rooms were kind of unlocked. But it kind of all worked out beautifully because the hostel itself was beautiful, it was really nice. You can tell from the vibe of that, there's music going on, there's people working, I'm being able to journal, and it shows that actually this is a place that is quite, a lot of people were using it for a staycation or a workation even, I should say, where they were taking their work from home. A lot of them were digital nomads, there were some international people, but many of them were actually Indian nationals coming from various parts of the country just to get a break and just to try something new. We passed a lot of, I remember outside of my hostel, it was actually near Bandra, which is an area in Mumbai. There were some beautiful images painted on the walls, murals. I'm going to paste them now. There you can see is Helen, and you can see Asha Parekh, some of my favorite Bollywood actresses. You can also see Dharmendra. You can see Wahida Rahman. So all of these people are iconic. Mumbai is kind of considered to be the pinnacle of Bollywood, which is the Hindi film industry, and that's where we see those beautiful pictures and paintings. Good morning from Mumbai. I'm talking from my hostel, just the doorstep of it anyway. There's lots of Christmas decorations around because I'm staying in Bandra, and in particular, it's a Catholic colony. Still early in the morning, I'm ready to go out for my Mumbai tour. I actually paid for this one because A, it wasn't that badly priced, and B, I get to see most of the major landmarks of it, seeing as I'm not going to go to Film City. All of the places that we go into has 0 to none entrance fee, so it's still within the whole things you can do in Mumbai for free. But the only reason I'm paying for the guide is just to speed things up a little bit, just because I wanted a bit less of the brain power to have to plan all of that stuff myself. So anyway, I'm going to keep you posted because right now I'm desperate for some tea or a coffee on my way to the station, and I'll catch up with you guys later. So on the next day now, I had organised a guided tour from a local Mumbai person. Actually, I think he came from Pune. but he had travelled over. He does these guided tours, Suraj his name is, and he is a part of, I wrote it in my diary actually. What actually happened was, while I was settling in to the hostel the day before, somebody else was also checking in, and they were also looking for a guided tour kind of thing. I overheard him talking to the hostel manager saying, what kind of stuff is there to do around here? And at that time there was a poster on the wall. I'd rang up, and that person was actually saying, if you can get a group of 3 or 4 people, that would be great, because obviously it's a bit more substantial for him to come and do a tour for multiple people, right? So the place is called Boundless Experience. That's it. The guide was from Boundless Experience, and his name was Suraj. And we booked a walking tour to see the local life. I quite enjoyed this actually, so I didn't mind paying that little bit further, like I said, because I just didn't want that brain power to overtake, especially when I'm in a new surrounding. I look back now at those videos and I realise actually how fatigued I must have been quite early on, and I didn't even realise it. Perhaps I'm still recovering as well, bear in mind the bout of food poisoning I had in Udaipur. I'm probably still recovering, probably still bringing up to my juices. And also bear in mind, I've now been there for over nearly 2 weeks. Yeah, nearly 10 days, I reckon. And hadn't had much social interaction, other than, of course, Yuvesh in Amritsar. But you know, most of it was kind of solo traveling, and maybe that took it out of me, because now I'm looking at those videos, looking back, and I realize how much perhaps I would have appreciated having a partner or a companion with me on more of that trip. So I was staying in a Catholic colony, or a Christian colony, I should say, because there was a lot of Christmas decorations, signs of the nativity, or rather displays of the nativity being put up. There was also a lot of football, because that was obviously Argentina had just won the World Cup.
And then you have your traditional nativity down here.
I thought that was really cool. There was a lot of football fever was still around, so that we had the nativity as well as the football vibe still going on. I remember we experienced getting on the local trains. At this time, I haven't done a national train yet. I had done coaches, I had done coaches and I had done planes. This is the first time now using local trains in the area or in the country. The train station architecture is beautiful. It honestly feels like you're in London, like King's Cross or something like that. This is the Chhatrapati Shivaji station. I'm assuming named after the man who designed it or who built it. Beautiful architecture. I think it's really important to share those images, because many people will have certain images about countries around the world being underdeveloped, but like society has changed so much since then. Technology, science, societies have changed so much. They're becoming more educated, more affluent, and you know, these infrastructures have been in place way before colonization even occurred. In fact, probably a lot of the Western countries took some stuff from them, pardon the pun, but in terms of, how to set up infrastructure. So it's really interesting to to look at these things with a Western lens and recognize, wow, this is amazing, and also to decolonize some of those lenses. A lot of women coming off this train, which tells you how, perhaps in Mumbai it's slightly different in terms of women's safety, in terms of how prominent and present they are in society. In other parts of the country, I haven't seen that as prominent. And this is a moment where I would actually like to just pause, if possible. I'm going to be speaking to one of my friends, Aarti, who is now in Mumbai and in India. I know Aarti from London here, actually. She has Indian heritage and Indian background, and now she's on this grand tour of India herself, doing various bits and pieces. And we're going to chat to her a little bit about her experiences of India so far and Mumbai. So, over to her.
All right. Thank you, Aarti, for joining and for giving us your personal experience of what Mumbai is like. How have you been, and how long have you been in Mumbai? Actually, start with that, and then tell us generally how you found it.
So that's a funny story. So I'm currently in Mumbai. I'm staying in Bandra, and I've been in Mumbai actually since the end of November, and it is pretty much the end of January at this point. And that was not by design. It just kind of happened, where I came to Mumbai. I was supposed to be here for a week, and then I thought, okay, after that, I'll go down to Goa, Karnataka, and do a bit of that. But somehow I just kind of kept ending up staying. I was staying at a friend, and I stayed at another friend's, and then it's my birthday, so I treated myself to like Lux Hotel. I stayed at the Taj for a bit, and then I just like wasn't ready to leave. So then I stayed in South Bombay, but I didn't like that area. And then I was like, okay, let me try Bandra. So then I came to Bandra, and then I was like, okay, cool. I think I found like my vibe, my energy. But by that point, it was like mid-December, and I was just kind of getting settled in to Bombay at that point, and um, I knew I wanted to spend like a whole like stable month in Mumbai, which I knew was going to be in Jan. So somehow I just ended up kind of staying. I did go to Goa in between briefly, not the trip that I thought I was going to do, but um, that's my answer to how long I've been in Mumbai. So unexpectedly, almost 2 months.
But it sounds like you kind of set up base there almost. If it sounds a bit like it's home away from home, because from there I'm going to Karnataka for a little bit, then to Goa for a little bit, trying to find my feet around Bombay or Mumbai, and now like Bandra seems to be the place for you.
Yeah, and I think also part of it had to do with a couple of things. So one, I also like I've been traveling for like 5 months now, and I've kind of needed a break from traveling, if that makes sense. So, like being in Mumbai has been like I just get to have normal life. Like I'm not like every day trying to go out and do things. It's like I wake up, I do some yoga, I do my meditation, I have breakfast. Maybe there's been a few days I've done a little bit of work, but I've just done like normal things, like been at home, been in one place, gone to dance classes, go for walks. So I've just needed I wanted a bit of stability after just being all over the place. So
Mm.
that's one thing. And two, yeah, to your point, like I think it has just kind of sucked me in. I wrote a post on Instagram about like this Mumbai magnet where it just feels like it's just pulled me in, and I've met a bunch of expats. Made some friends here, so it does feel a bit of like home away from home, and it does have a lot of elements that remind me of New York, remind me of London, which are both cities I spent like several years in. So yeah, it's a bit of my it's like my home base, so it's nice. It's just nice
Yeah.
to like know where things are and not feel disoriented and be relying on just external factors, trying to figure out how to get from A to
Mm.
B. It's like, no, I know how to navigate, and Mumbai is huge. It has so many different boroughs. Each borough has a different vibe, a different feel. It also takes really long to get from one place to another. Like I just totally underestimated how big Mumbai was when I first came, and now I'm learning it's like its own. In some ways, it's kind of like London, where like London has all these different areas, but even bigger and like obviously 10, 20 times like more concentrated.
That's amazing. And do you know what I really like is the fact that so I did all of India, lol. I did most of it, a lot of it, that's not a lot in 1 month, and you've spent just a month in itself in Mumbai. And as you're talking, I'm thinking if I was gonna have like a home base, where would it be? And when you said Mumbai Magnet, I thought, you know what, I actually think it would have been Mumbai, and that's such a stark difference to. I feel like I'm such a rural town kind of guy,
Yeah.
likes the peace and quiet, likes the village life, and while that is true, I there was something about air. I don't know what to call it.
Energy, yeah,
Yeah,
something.
I didn't think I would like it as much. And I think the people definitely, by chance that I was in the hostel with, made a huge difference and made a huge impact on why I would want to stay there. Um, but from a month there, like tell us a little bit about what some of the things that you've seen and what the memorable things that you've done.
2 months.
Oh, there we go, 2 months. There you go. I think that's a testament to how much of a negative Mumbai is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start with what I've done in Mumbai. Like I said, I've done a lot of normal stuff,
Yeah.
like just some normal stuff, like go for walks, go to yoga, or just do yoga at home by myself. Um, uh, where do I even start? I've done like one or two walking tours. One was like a proper walking tour, took us around the sites of like South. Bombay, like Galagora area. And then another walking tour I did was this midnight poetry crawl. So what was super cool about that is like whoever organized it, they had picked different poets, and on that particular day was this particular poet, and I guess he used to live in Galagora area, which is in South Bombay, and had all these poems that like reflected different parts of the city. So we did like a poetry crawl, and we did it at midnight, which was really cool. And that was a really like nice way of like getting to know the city and like the culture and just layers of the city that you wouldn't know normally, right? Like
That's
obviously
like
the
a
first tour I
London
did,
Shoreditch thing, don't you think?
yeah, right? It has that like cool vibe.
Hipster
Uh,
vibe.
but like the first tour I did, like that was more like pure history, but in an awesome way, like about like how the Portuguese came, you know, just the influence of just all the different like the Parsis and all of that in Mumbai. Whereas this was like just another layer. And I think that's the thing is like I've done a few different activities here, which have been not like your typical tourist activities. Like there, like right now, there's this arts festival going on this week. I went a few days ago. Got to see some amazing musicians. There's a market, and it's got all like representatives of different arts and textiles and foods from all different parts of India. I'm gonna go again today because today there's some like free dance showcases, like some
Nice.
fusion stuff, some classical, some Bharatanatyam, Kathak, all different types of stuff being presented. Um, so I think there's an element of that which is part of Mumbai, which obviously exists in other cities as well. But normally when you're traveling, you probably don't have time to access those things. You're just like, let me go to like the Gateway of India. Let me go see these like typical sites, right? And you kind of check box some of those things. I also have been like I have been hanging out with like a bunch of expats, and this happened quite serendipitously. It's a bit
I
of a
love
long
that word.
story. Yeah, it's a long story. So I don't know if I have time to go into all of that, but I randomly met this woman who happens to organize all these like expat events. And so I went to one event and I met a bunch of people there. And then inevitably I went to another event, I went to a brunch, and then have just met some people through that. And we've done things like brunches. What else? There was like a soiree New Year's party, not during New Year's, it was after New Year's, um, at like the Taj Hotel. And then because of that, I've like met people. So, you know, one of the girls had a New Year's Eve party, and like that's where I celebrated New Year's Eve. So I think that's been like one layer of my experience here of just meeting different people from different backgrounds who have come to India for, you know, whether it's obviously for work, but for just a variety of different reasons. Um, what else have I been doing? I've obviously been going to a lot of dance classes, so that has been a really cool experience. It was obviously one of my intentions before I came on this trip is like I really want to dance more and experience like the dance scene in Mumbai. So I have done a bunch of drop-in classes to, you know, choreographers that I had been following online, and then getting to go to their class in person, which is really neat. Getting to go to studios like Tangerine Studios, which we've all seen videos of, and you know, feels like so cool. And then you get there and you're like, whoa, this is way smaller than I expected, or this is not actually what I thought it was, what it was like. But that was really cool. And then um and I have like a whole thing to say about the dance scene in Mumbai, which probably could be its own video, which I won't get
Yeah.
into. But you know, just like in London, just like in any city, you know, I just feel like you tend to like make friends with dance people. So there's like been a couple of people in the dance scene that I've met here who I've ended up like spending more time with, like obviously through dance, but then also just hanging out and like going over to their place and, you know, watching Bollywood movies and just eating and chilling. So that's been really cool. And then what else have I been up to here?
Have you seen any
Uh,
major? Have you had the opportunity to experience any kind of major festivals?
um,
Where were you for Navratri? Was it Navratri? Where you were doing?
Navratri. Yeah, I was actually in Mumbai for Navratri. That was in October. So I was here just for like a week. That was between me being in Kerala and then going up north. And so yeah, that was such a one of a kind experience. I had like it was one of the things I wanted to experience. I was like, I want to go do Navratri in India, and I was like, it has to be Mumbai or it has to be Gujarat, but I wasn't going to go to Gujarat, so I was like, I have to do it in Mumbai. And so I went to one of these Navratri Garba festivals where Falguni Pathak was singing,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
I remember that.
insane. She's like the icon
Like
of,
we grew up listening to her
yeah,
tracks, and then to be at one of her events.
exactly. It was crazy. And when I walked in to this ground, there were so many people, like thousands and thousands of people. In fact, afterwards, I found out that there were 30,000
Wow.
people at this Navratri event. Like, I've been to Navratri in Canada, I've been in the UK, and we have these, it's like in a gym, it's in a hall, everyone dances in like a circle together. It's very communal. Whereas there, it's almost like a free for all. There's groups all over the place. It's really competitive. People have these like crazy sequences, like really, really complex sequences. People train for months before like Navratri to like have their sequences. They have competitions, and then people compete against each other in these competitions at the end. And it was just a mind-blowing experience. Like I remember I walked in and I was super overwhelmed. I was scared. I was like, what is this? Also, am I Gujarati? Like maybe not. Like I don't think I'm Gujarati. Like I don't think I am. Like what is this? Because it was just so unlike anything I'd ever experienced, but it was also so cool. Like it's definitely a core memory.
Nice. There's something
Yeah.
there about like when you start asking, well, I suppose there's something there about being a non-resident Indian and then being a native Indian and how you celebrate things and then the way that it makes you question your Indianness. I think that's really quite
Oh my God.
interesting.
I've had a lot of moments of that for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, and then it's just one final question after that. But if you're comfortable with it,
Ooh. Um, I think it's uh it's not there's not like one. I think I don't know how to answer it actually. I think that when I first came and I was meeting people, especially I was like traveling and staying in some hostels, and people ask like, where are you from? And I always struggle with answering where I'm from because like I grew up in Canada, but I haven't lived in Canada for a long time. I lived 7 years, like a really significant part of my life in the US. I've lived in London for the past 5 years. Um, I am Indian. My parents were not born in India. They were born in East Africa, and then they grew up in England. And so I always sort of struggle with like answering. Sometimes I just say, "Oh, I'm from the West," or I just pick a country, and then I then get into like a confusing conversation because sometimes I'll be like, I'm from London. And then people will say, oh, yeah, I can tell by your accent. And I'm like, actually, I don't have a British accent. Or if I say I'm from Canada, they're like, cool. And then they start asking me all these things about Canada. I'm like, actually, I can't really answer them because I've lived there for so long. So that's like one aspect of it.
mm,
And then but also knowing that I'm still Indian, like I'm still culturally Indian. I grew up with all these like values and cultures, and I know that I'm someone who like actively has made decisions to be like, no, I want to celebrate these things. Like because I've lived away, I think it's different when you live with family. It's really easy to be like, oh, we're celebrating Diwali, we're celebrating Navratri, we're celebrating these festivals because it's just your family doing it, right? Whereas like if you live on your own, you have to make an active choice, right?
mm,
So I've had to do this over the past many years of living my own, of being like, okay, this festival is here, so I want to celebrate it for me. It may not be the way that I would have known celebrating it when I was younger, but I'm going to celebrate it for myself, right? I'm going to find a way to do it, whether it's me just going to the temple by myself or me doing like a ceremony or something at home or just inviting friends over and like having a Diwali party or something. So um I don't think I've come here and thought like I'm not Indian. I think I've met people who are kind of like, well, where are you from? And then like eventually I'm like, well, I'm Gujarati, but like not from Gujarat, right? Um And what else was I going to say on this topic? I don't truly know if I've answered your question. How do I feel about, like, do I feel like I'm Indian? I do feel like I'm Indian, but I also know that, like, my influences are from all over and I can't help that. Like, I can't change that. And I think there's times people meet me and then they're like really surprised by certain things, that like I know certain things about India or certain like festivals or the way we celebrate or certain ideas, and they're like surprised in that way. But then there's certain things that they're surprised that I'm from the West and that I'm not a certain way. So for example, like a lot of people smoke here, like cigarettes, weed, all types of stuff. I don't drink very much, so I kind of stopped, but maybe I'll have a drink here and there. But it's very confusing for people. They're like, you're from the West, like you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't do anything. Like it almost seems like that's what they expect from the West. And they're really surprised when like I know so much about yoga. I know more about Ayurveda than half the Indian people that I've met. More than half the people, I've met. I feel like I'm the one teaching them and like telling them things about Ayurveda. So, I think it's just this, it's a continual journey, right? I like I can have multiple identities, and I think that's something that I've definitely experienced on this trip. It's like not just cultural identities, but it's like, I experiential identities, right? Like you talked about, like you like nature, but you still associate it a lot with Mumbai. Like I love nature. Like I love being by the beach. I loved some of my time that I spent in the mountains. But at the same time, it's like I've definitely thought like, who am I? It's like, no, but I'm all of those people. Like I am the bougie girl in Bombay, but I'm also the girl who stayed in like a hostel and like, not had hot water and, skipped showers and just, you know, stayed up all night watching the stars and, gone to the beach and, had like a little picnic. I don't know, like it's kind of, you just faced with all of those things when you're traveling.
And
You
all of
just
those things can be
experience.
true at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's something where I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to choose. Like I can be all of those things, and that's okay too.
Nice. Thanks for that. And on the topic of identity, we'll round it up with talking about your experiences as a solo female traveler, including any tips or tricks that you might have for fellow solo female travelers.
Um, it's a good question. I think,
In fact, sorry, can we start, if you don't mind, with some of the
yeah,
stereotypes that might exist with it, and even like some of the fears that people might have. Because I remember
yeah,
when before you left, actually, you were asking similar questions to me about,
yeah,
how is it going to be? I kind of just want a little bit of an overview because as a solo female traveler, I'm not sure what to expect, but I've obviously
yeah,
heard all of these horror stories, and
yeah,
typically people do try to fear you out. As a male traveler solo, people were like, "Oh, be careful out there. You don't want to." I've seen Slumdog Millionaire one too many times.
yeah,
And
yeah,
people take that and just apply it to anybody who's solo traveling, and then times that by 10 if you're a female. So it's never, I've never heard anyone to be supportively encouraging, is what I'm trying to say, with regards to females and traveling alone. Those are the stereotypes we started with. So what's been your
yeah.
experience of those?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I had lots of things like you're going to India, it's not going to be safe, like, you know, you're a woman and I think people also point to my stature, right? Like if you've met me, I'm a petite, thin woman. So people are, they were said things like, "Oh, it's not safe and you have to be careful and don't go out at night and watch what you wear and um, you can't trust everyone and people are they're gonna be nice to you and they're gonna say all these nice things and they're gonna be really helpful, but they have an agenda, they have a secret agenda and all this kind of stuff." So there was definitely that before I went. Um, but I think, to be honest, there's there's noise and then there's experience, right? Like I've had a really positive experience. I mean, when I got to India, I remember I landed in Kochi. My first few days were in Kochi. Kerala is a very chill state. It's very peaceful. I didn't really find any, to be very honest, and I hope it stays this way. I don't know what to cross, but um, I haven't had any issues, I didn't there's been very few moments where I've been like, oh my God, I feel like I'm a sole woman alone and I'm scared. Like, I never really thought about it as like, oh, I'm a woman and I need to be like more scared. And maybe this is also a function of like, I've traveled a lot. I've traveled a lot independently. I've done a lot of things alone. So I think there's just like some natural like sense that you have. And you know, I kind of anticipated this question around like, what are your tips as a solo female traveler? And like, to be honest, my main tip is like, just be smart and use your intuition because that's genuinely what I rely on. And there have been situations where, like, for example, the first time I took a train in India, before I was going to take it, I was scared. And I was scared because I'm like, I've never been on a train in India. I don't know what it's going to be like. Like, it was more of the concept. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know if it was going to be crowded. I didn't know the system. I didn't know how it worked. And one of the things I did, which made me feel better, I'm not saying you have to do this, but it made me feel better, was like, I'm wearing an Indian outfit. I'm wearing a kurta. I'm braiding my hair. I want to look Indian. Like, I want to look Indian when I go on this train. Like, if I open my mouth, different story. You'll hear my accent. But even my Hindi, like, obviously my Hindi still has a bit of an accent. But I was like, let me just physically get myself into a place where I feel okay with this. And there were some people at the hostel I was staying at, and they were like, you don't need to do this. Like, you'll be fine. And lo and behold, when I got on the train, there were women in dresses and stuff. But I was like, no, this made me feel more comfortable. And, someone had helped me. This guy had helped me from the hostel. He came to the train station. He helped me get a ticket. He got me on the train and, helped set me up. And, that, to be honest, that helped. Like, just having help from a stranger made it a lot easier. And I think that's the thing is like, you're allowed to ask for help. Like, people are people. People are still like really helpful. Yeah, okay, it's India, but that doesn't mean that like there's mostly people are everyday people. They're just trying to get from A to B, right? Or people are they're also traveling, they're also tourists. Maybe they're just within the country. And so, I knew this guy, he had no agenda. He saw me, he met me, he knew I was a bit nervous, and he was like, I'll take you. Like, I'll take you and I'll help you out. And that was it. Like, that's all he wanted to do was just be a good Samaritan. And he certainly was. So, I think it's mostly just like trusting your gut and don't be stupid. Or like, if you feel like something feels a bit off, like, just don't take that chance. Like, there were these guys when I was in Kerala, there was these guys and they were driving to the next city and I was going to that same next city and I could have easily just gotten in the car and gone with them. They were like, come with us, we have space. And they were totally fine. There was nothing wrong with them. But I just was like, do you know what? I haven't spent as much time with them for me to make this decision. So I'm just going to play it safe and not go with them.
Yeah.
But in a very similar situation, probably like 2 days earlier, there was another guy that I had met, and he was driving from Varkala to Kochi. And I had met him a couple of times. I hadn't spoken to him that much, but I'd met him a couple times, and I just had a gut feeling that he was safe and normal. And he was like, "Hey, I'm driving to Kochi. I have to go the exact route that you're going. You're welcome to come in my car." And I knew to trust him, and it was a totally awesome experience. He had awesome soundtrack. We had a great time, great music on the way. He picked up my friend, didn't even know my friend. He was like, I have to drive that way. I'll happily pick up your friend on the way. Picked up my friend, drove us to Kochi. It was awesome. So I think that's the only thing I can really say. I'm sorry it's not objective. I'm sorry it's not like, make sure you carry this and have mace and do da 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 da. It's like, no, just have your wits about you. Don't like walk around with like cash in your hands. Like, even if you did, like, nothing's really gonna happen. Like, I'm not walking around at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night in sketchy areas. And obviously you make certain decisions that make you feel safer, right? So, I'm staying in Bandra. I know it's a very, Mumbai in general is safe, but Bandra is a very, it's like a lot of foreigners, expats live here. So yeah, I'm paying more to stay here, but that's fine. And I've done that a couple of times where I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna pay. Maybe I just don't feel comfortable. Maybe I don't want to stay in a hostel and share rooms with other people. I'm just going to get my own room, and that's going to make me feel more safe and more comfortable. And so I've done that. So
Nice.
those are some of the basics, if anything.
What I love is that it's mirrored more or less what I've always said as well throughout this series, and I will continue to say as well, in that I'm not entirely sure. Again, as a man, I can never assume and speak for what it might be like to be a solo female traveler. Hence why I wanted to get your ideas and your perspective on it. But what we've said is really not that dissimilar at all. If you feel safe in yourself and your decisions, then generally like things will be okay. And the biggest and warmest, I don't want to say surprise because it makes it sound like I didn't expect anything, I expected less of these people, but the warming surprise, the most loveliest thing that I've ever experienced is just the willingness of people to help. Like you
Oh my
mentioned,
God.
the guy who took you to the train station. I think I mentioned it was either, it might have been in Ahmedabad or this video, one of them. I actually said to the viewers, if you're worried or nervous, just ask. And then
Yeah.
if you're still not satisfied, ask again with someone else. Like
Yes.
the more you
Yeah.
do, all you're going to be doing is just building your confidence and building
Yeah.
your knowledge, and that's really what it's about. If you go
Yeah.
in with the mindset of, can't trust anyone, what's going to
Yeah.
happen is you're not going to ask anyone. You're going to sit there throughout the entire journey and just be really nervous and anxious while
Yeah.
throw yourself out there a little bit with vulnerability. Ask again, ask again. You've done your due diligence. You've done your bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And people are happy to help you. Like I've had that. I haven't I've had very rare experiences where people have been like, no, I'm not going to help you. In
Exactly.
fact,
Yeah.
I remember there was one time I was trying to get a rickshaw, and the rickshaw he took me and he asked me. I guess I was like a bit confused, so I was telling him, and maybe I had a very serious look on my face. And he's like beti, like girl, daughter. He's like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay? Like, koi parishan hai? Like, are you have some worries? Is like, what's going on?" And I was just like, "Oh my God, like, how sweet is that, right?" Like, I was like, "No, no, like, I just was a bit confused." But he genuinely was like, "Are you okay? Like, I'm asking because, the other day I picked up a girl, kind of like you. She was really worried. She was crying. She was lost. She didn't have any money on her." And he's like, "If you need help, like, I can help you." And I was just like, it was just so touching, that he saw that I guess I was just confused, and maybe I was just in my thinking face or something. But I was like, no, no, everything's fine. But how nice.
I love that. And that human experience does exist everywhere. And I think you also attract what you radiate. And if you're someone who has good intentions and you're there to discover and to learn, people will pick up on that and they'll be happy to help you discover and help you learn and so on. And
Yeah.
I love that. Human connection is one of the things that I've realized from when I look back on my trip to India. If I had more time and money, I definitely would have slowed down.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I went in the beginning, like doing this series is really helping because as I went in at the beginning, I thought to myself, oh, it's just something I've always wanted to do, bucket list, a month around India. But why did a month in India not be just 3 cities? I ended up doing 14, like a madman, and no regrets
Yeah.
at all, absolutely zero regrets. But if I was doing something differently, I would definitely do what you're doing, which is it's okay to slow down and
Yeah.
listen to what your body needs and what your time has for you. It's okay to slow down. That's my biggest takeaway, I think.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're living that.
Yeah, for sure. There's actually one thing there's two things, well, many things I have learned, but there's a couple of things that I have written down, and one of them, around this piece around connection is that um a city uh a city is, I don't know the exact wording, but it's like you will enjoy as deep as your connections are is as deep as you will enjoy a city. Because you can go to a city and see the sights, but if you go and you make some really cool friends or meet some locals, and then you share that experience,
This is
your
so true.
experience of that city will be so much richer. So that's one thing. And the other thing is around um, this idea of like, because I'm such an overthinker, I'm always planning, always thinking about the next thing. And I really had to learn this, still learning it around, you know, instead of thinking about the next things, thinking about the next cities, thinking about the next thing you want to do, thinking about like, when am I done with the experience that I'm having now? Right? And then you're just kind of enjoying this, enjoying it to the fullest. And then there's a moment where you then feel ready. And I've taken on that attitude and I've noticed a shift. It's like I've noticed when instead of thinking about the next thing, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna enjoy this. And then there's a time where I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Like I can feel myself getting not antsy, but now I'm like, okay, now I feel like I'm done with this experience and I can go on to the next. And I just thought I would share that little nugget in case that helps you or someone.
It certainly does, and I think I love that. I love that on my screen right now is two quite different experiences of India, but I know for a fact that you know what, Freudian slip, it came out
There
again.
you go.
When I do it again, I'm doing it your style, which is to slow down and ask myself, because this whole trip was when I'd landed in one city, I'd be planning the next one already.
Yeah.
But taking away a good few hours from the very limited time that I had there. But
Yeah.
you live and you learn, and this year is another year for hopefully some travel in the future, and
Yeah.
maybe not India, but certainly with these lessons intact
Yeah.
for sure.
And I think, sorry, one more thing to add is
No, go for it.
also is doing it more organically, right? Like we are always thinking about the next thing, but we're always planning. We're like thinking, what is the next thing, right? Instead of being like, what feels like the next thing. So like I've ended up in places that I would have never expected because I was more going with the flow, right? Like if I was so fixed to my plan, and I feel like an idiot now because I had like put this video out of like, this is my plan for India. This is what I'm gonna do. I did not. I've done some of those things, but like I haven't done those things. Like things have happened in a more organic way because you kind of allow for opportunities. When you overplan, you overthink, you don't create any gaps, right? Like time wise, energetically wise for things to happen. And this doesn't have to apply for travel, right? Like this can also apply in your like daily life, right? You're like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of take that one decision, like see where it goes. And you always have the best fun, right? Where you're like, oh, I had nothing on Saturday, and then I met my friend for coffee, and then there happened to be a festival going on. So we went to the festival, and then from the festival there was a parade, and then we ended up here and we bumped into these people, right? And just kind of allowing more of that like free flow.
Yeah, that playfulness for sure. On that note, everyone who is interested in Aarti's organic views of India and the way that she's been doing things, I know you've got a couple of videos up already, but I'll pop the link in the caption for you guys to check out Aarti's YouTube channel. She's done some really quite meaningful videos out there already, so you can see the beginning part of her trip. Right now, I'd say you're enjoying a nice little sabbatical in your home away from home and just vibing it, to be honest, and I love that for you. So, thank you for sharing that journey, and thanks for being here today and sharing it in more detail. Actually, I feel quite privileged to have had this conversation and inspired to get out there and do some more traveling, actually.
Oh, well, I don't know whether to say thank you or you're welcome, but it's been an awesome experience. And also, maybe I'm sorry if like if you weren't planning and now I'm forcing you to go travel or something. But
Not at all, not at all. I think there's nothing but inspiration that's come out of this.
I remember in Mumbai, in that tour, we tasted some of the most beautiful ice cream. It was known as...
So from Bori Mohalla down to Chor Bazar, on the way there is Taj Ice Cream, Mumbai's oldest hand-churned ice cream shop. Let's go have a look.
The current person is the 6th generation in the business. So now if you're thinking like what ice cream should I try?
So we actually went to Chor Bazar. There was a fish bazaar as well. Oh my gosh, it stank so much. Being Bengali, you'd think I'd be able to handle it, but it was mad. One of the reasons it's called Chor Bazar is because if you happen to get pickpocketed in the streets of Mumbai, chances are you will find your belongings again in this Chor Bazar, because chances are somebody has stolen it and tried to sell it off to one of these people here, who will then try to sell it back to you, even though you might be the owner of it. So that's where it gets the name of Chor Bazar from. I don't know how true that is. If you know otherwise, or you know the actual reality of it, do let us know in the comments again, please. I wasn't allowed to go down with the camera. Somebody saw and he forbade it, but I took some footage from up the top. And the story goes from the Ramayana, when Lord Rama was coming down to Lanka to save Sita. He had his brother Lakshman with him and his followers, of course. They stopped and they were thirsty, but there was no water anywhere. So Lakshman took his arrow and released it into the ground, and that's where a spring of water came forward. And it is said that that lake and that the water there is from the same source of Lakshman's arrow. So that's why this place holds significant meaning for Hindus in particular. I remember after this, we took some steps to go and taste some Vada Pav. Now, Vada Pav is one of the most iconic street food of Mumbai. Vada Pav is literally two different things. Vada means the fried fritter that happens to be in between, and Pav is the bun. So in essence, it's like a burger, but I'm sure any Mumbaikar who heard me say that is going to kill me for saying that. It's not just like a burger. In fact, the pav does not come in two separate parts like a burger bun does. It is kind of like a clam shape. Then you have the vada inside, and you have different sauces. There's green chutney, there's chilies as well, fresh chilies that people can have. I was still a bit worried about using my stomach to do street food antics. So I don't think I tried any, but I might have had FOMO and then thought, actually, you know what, screw it, I really want to try some. Now, I'm really quite poor. I don't remember the names of any of these parks. I hadn't actually written them down in my diary at this point, which goes to again show probably how tired I was. In fact, my Mumbai pages, despite having quite a lot of experiences, are 1 and a bit pages of reflections, and the majority of it is just tickets being stuck in, which goes to show how probably very tired I was. The final stop of the Mumbai local tour was Dharavi, which is the urban, most densely populated area of Mumbai. It is known as the Slums. Anybody who's seen Slumdog Millionaire will recognise parts of it potentially. This is almost like a no access or no-go zone for just randomers. It's not really a tourist attraction, which is kind of weird because it gave a sense of poverty porn, which is something we used to talk about in our sociology lessons, where people want to go and look at how the other half live and ogle at them like it's kind of some kind of spectacle. There's just something very strange about the idea. So if you did want to actually go inside and understand it a little bit better, you would have to get special permission from the underworld, or the underworld dons, if you like. Again, it's not impossible to get into. I was just short of time, trying to watch out for my budget as well. But the locals, there are people who can offer tours, official tours as well, not necessarily dangerous ones. They're official tours of the place, which can get you in there. And I would recommend that you do take people that are offering those rather than go and attempt to go in by yourself, just because you're not used to the area, and you certainly don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable in their homes, as uncomfortable as it is. But what you are seeing here is this kind of like the city's biggest laundromat that's happening. Again, another amazing infrastructure that they have, where they are engaging in the drying, the polishing, the shining, you can just see for yourself in the B-roll footage, but it's just really, really quite interesting and amazing how people send their laundry to here, and they'll get it back by the end of the day exactly as they wanted it to. And that's their business. That's how that economy is working. Super interesting. And that took us to the end of that Mumbaikar's tour. But what I did individually then, independently, what I did here was to go to Haji Ali Dargah, which is a famous Dargah in Mumbai, typically visited by people of the Shia religion and various other sects actually. And it's an important place for many Muslims and non-Muslims actually in India, because it's considered a place of a person who passed away, was someone who they revere a lot for his piety, for his deep spiritual connections, and his to the religion. It is in a really beautiful location actually. It exists in part of a, how should I say it? It's kind of like offshore. In essence, it's on this little island. If you get over there and the tide comes in, you can get stuck there. So there's specific times that you can go in and out. So I decided to take that trip by myself over there, which was fine because it was really busy actually. Not allowed to take any photos or any videos. I wanted to go and see Haji Ali Dargah because, as I've mentioned in previous videos, spirituality is something that's quite important to me, and I wanted to go and see other people and the location of this place and how they worship in essence. And it was beautiful because I got to see some qawwalis being played. Again, the guards, I don't know if they're employed or if they're unofficial guards, will try to take money out of you for even looking after their shoes, to the extent where if I leave my shoes there before I go into the Dargah, in order to get those shoes back, they will go as far, you have to tell them, oh, those are my shoes over there. They'll pick it up and they'll put it right at your feet and expect something in return. I find it a little bit strange that, yeah, in a place of devotion that you would find a way. But you know what? Who am I to judge? I don't understand the infrastructure. I'm coming in from an outside perspective. But other than that, it was quite a nice venture to do, especially because of the location, with the waves crashing against the rocks, beautiful sounds. It could have been peaceful, but there was just a lot of people there. And that pretty much concluded my first day out in Mumbai. I then went back to the hostel where I chilled with a couple of the hostel mates. There was Ira, Mukesh, Saurabh, there was Pulkit. Really, really great, wholesome people. Raj as well came along on the last day. Really wholesome people that we would just chill, play some games with, listen to music and vibe, and just generally, yeah, have a really good time, which I wasn't expecting. And then all of a sudden I felt comfortable, I felt safe again. Really, really great vibes. And I think that comes down to the hostel surroundings. That the communal area had a kind of desk area for workations, people who were studying and or working while being on holiday. Then there was the chilling area, there was billiards happening, there was the kitchen area as well, also shared. Really, really wholesome vibe. So if you are in Mumbai, I would highly recommend you check out. It is called Co-Hostels, and their details I'll probably leave in the description below. If I don't remember to, then let me know and I will send that to you ASAP, and I'll put that in the description. But it is in Bandra. Co-Hostels, beautiful, beautiful place. Even the manager, really, really wonderful guy. He helped me to plan my train tickets for the next journey, so really worth looking at. So on that night, actually on day one, done the Mumbai tour, I had done Haji Ali Dargah. I went out to see some of my London friends because, again, socially it was really important. I met up with my friend Hannah and her husband Sagar, who were in India. They live in Mumbai themselves actually. It was really, really nice to catch up. I know Hannah from London, so it was really cool to see how she's settling in and their life together in Mumbai. We went out to a dessert place called Coco Cart, which was pretty cool. Feels just like being in London. We then went out to chill actually on the Soho beach at night, which was really cool. We got to see the stars, the moon, hear the waves crashing while we were just sat on the beach drinking a couple of drinks and chilling really, which was also a really nice vibe because on the beach as well, it's not too quiet, it's not too empty, just the right vibe for a nighttime in summer. Well, it was winter to be fair, but not too cold anyway for me, so that was really beautiful. Day 2, I'm now spending this last day before I fly to Goa. I'm now spending again with friends that I made in the hostel. We introduced Rohini and Anas. Rohini and Anas, this was a great day actually. Now, first of all, Anas's vibes. He's really cool because he's just like, you know what, really peaceful kind of guy, just goes along with the flow. Rohini is a breath of fresh air. She just has this great energy about her. They were both on their workations. Rohini especially, so she'd be working through the day, chilling through the night, but it was their last day as well, so we kind of just wanted to make the most of it. We ended up doing 2 or 3 different things in one day, and I think it really helps having that the group that we were just gelled so well together that it helped having Rohini, who kind of knew the area as it is, and we just went bam, 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 bam into 3 or 4 different things. Ticked off things that weren't even on my bucket list, managed to do that, which is great. But yeah, great vibes. Let me introduce you to them.
Oh, it's the last day in Mumbai. Say hello.
Hi.
This is Rohini. This is Anas.
Hello.
And we're going celebrity stalking.
Yes.
Starting with Salman Khan. But also, Saurabh ne kaha he saw Disha Patni in his coffee shop. So we're going to go look for dessert and maybe a rishta. We'll see.
amazing. One of the great things about having people who don't judge you as well is because when I said we're going celebrity stalking, they actually didn't mind. I'm a big Bollywood buff, them not so much. So when I said we're going to go stalk Salman Khan, it's because we were looking for his house or his studios in Bandra, which is so close to where we were staying. We actually walked past Mehboob Studios. It wasn't open. Film City is quite expensive to get into, and I think very, very expensive actually. So that wasn't on my agenda. One of the other guys, Saurabh, said that he pretty much is convinced he saw Disha Patni in a local coffee shop. I was hella jealous. So on we were going to try and find celebrities in our last day in Mumbai. Great vibes, great people. Let's crack a lack and see what else we found. You know, just hearing your friends' voices after so long, you feel so happy remembering those times. The way that I've lit up, I think this is a really crucial moment. I realised that there are certain things that I see, do, makes me feel really happy and I light up. But the thing that gets me the smiling the most is, again, the people. The ones that really leave a mark. And for me, that was Yuvesh in Amritsar, that was Rohini in Mumbai, and Anas and Saurabh and all the other gang. Because when I hear their voices again and when I see them and I go through our memories, I feel really happy again.
So we're very close to Mehboob Studios, which, agar if you're a Bollywood fan, then you should know Mehboob Studios is where it began. With the 1947 film Mother India, India on the brink of partition, this was the studios where it was all shot. And obviously, bhai ka ghar hi aas-paas hi hai.
Delusional. Finally, someone is filming for me and my footage is not rubbish. So here's where I'm talking about how on the way to Mehboob Studio, this is where Bollywood began. I'm being delusional about being close to Bhai Ka Ghar, and it's also his birthday coming up, so thinking, yeah, definitely gonna bump into him, wish him happy birthday. But again, what I love is zero judgments from Rohini and Anas as they're filming me. Beautiful vibes, great people.
Abhi hum kahan hai?
अभी हम हैं महबूब स्टूडियो के सामने and then we are going to Candies.
Why are we in an auto?
What?
Why are we in an auto?
Because we have to save our time.
And energy.
Yes, that's important, and time is important.
Of course.
We are running out of time and we have light, right?
Yes.
We have to
And
explore.
even I want to leave at 3.
We have to explore as much as we can with limited time.
Yeah. So in Mumbai, whenever you are in Mumbai, ye cut kar dena. Whenever you are in Mumbai, so just make sure try to roam around in rickshaw to save money.
Okay.
Instead of cab.
Unless you're
You will not stuck in traffic too. Yeah.
Also, notice how my face is totally different. This is the nature of airports, air conditions. Disgusting. My face is totally different there. We went to Candies for breakfast or brunch. Beautiful place. Really good vibes, great food. Dessert and breakfast place, definitely worth checking out if you are in Mumbai. In breakfast, so on the second day of Mumbai, I went for a champi first. Then we went to Candies for breakfast. We then went to Soho House. Now, Soho House apparently is a global brand, which I didn't know about, and it's pretty much invite only. There is exclusive access to it. It's a hotel / dinner place, conference place, etc. Really nice. In fact, I would probably say it's probably the best pizza I've ever had. I know, irony. I go to India and I have pizza. Make it make sense. Even I don't get it, but couldn't say no. Beautiful pizza. Yeah, just beautiful pizza, man. Can't even argue with that one. We then went to, in the bandstand, I believe, there was a really nice church. Rohini took us to this place to get some souvenirs, some cute little key rings, and it was just outside this beautiful church that we went into. Again, notice me always gravitating towards places of worship. Following that, we ended up really going celebrity stalking by looking for Mannat. If you don't know what Mannat is Shah Rukh Khan's house. Sadly, he wasn't there, but that's not the version I'm going to tell my friends, so please don't correct them because they are aware of a very different version. So Mannat is where Shah Rukh Khan's house was. We had to go and see it, and then we went to the beach, which is really beautiful actually because Mannat is right on the beachfront. It's a short walk, which you can see here. It's nice to actually just sit there and vibe, take in the sounds, take in the sights. Really, really beautiful. The beaches in Bandstand are beautiful. You can just sit, take in the sights, take in the sounds.
If you wanna go, then we can go. But यहाँ बाहर कहीं है?
After Mannat, we actually didn't stop there. We went to see another guard. We were running out of time because my flight was last. So first it was Rohini that had to go, then Anas, and then me. So I had a bit more time while they were still cramming in things until the very last minute. We went to this beautiful garden again in Mumbai. It's actually outside the Taj Hotel, the famous Taj Hotel. I believe it's the famous Taj Hotel, which unfortunately experienced the Mumbai shootings. In 2007. Yeah, correct me again on that if I'm wrong. And there's a beautiful garden just outside of that, which was quite busy, but really, really wonderful views. The higher you go, you can see the sea, you can see the bridges, and the footage here will just illustrate just how beautiful that is. To the hostel, I said goodbye to Rohini, to Anas. I actually had a quick workout. I played some pool and then said goodbye to the other friends from the hostel before I took the cab to the airport to Goa, where everything went in terms of my mood for the first day at least. So you'll have to stay tuned until the next video to find out why that happened in Goa. For now though, here's a final reflection from Mumbai airport.
Hello. So basically it's 2 a.m. Sorry, it is 1:31 a.m. I should be on a flight right now from Mumbai to Goa, but it got delayed. Thankfully, AirAsia was actually very good. They let you know beforehand that it was delayed so that you don't go out and just be waiting here for ages for no reason. So it's been delayed twice. It's now at 2:40. But I've checked in, done my security really, really quick. Mumbai airport is nice. I'm currently sat in Cocoa Art. Ordered a hot chocolate. Should be on its way very soon. And I thought I'd sit and do some reflections with you guys. Because why not? Now? I'm about halfway through my trip. In fact, let's have a look now. This is why, because my memory is so poor. So, according to this, I am now on day 15, 16. So exactly halfway through my trip. Yeah, halfway through my trip. So what have I learned? Number one, negotiate from day dot. I really wish I did it, and I really wish I could keep doing it. To be fair, in some of the bigger cities, like most of your Ubers and taxis are all metered, so you don't even have to worry about things like that. Listen to your body. If it's saying no to certain foods, it's a no. If it's saying no to overnight sleeper buses, it's a no, because you spent all that money to go to places. You want to enjoy it now. Also, I thought you could hear my somewhat dodgy accent that's changing while I'm here. Mumbai was actually surprisingly good. I didn't think it would be as good as I enjoyed it. For all the different reasons that you might think. So Mumbai is the hub of Bollywood now, and everyone who knows me is like, yeah, this guy obviously couldn't be right at home. But I actually had very little interactions. Sadly, I made those connections a bit too late. I'm now on my way to Goa. But, I mean, like living in a hostel where people are vibing in the same way, they're all there for different reasons, but budget is important. And everyone just wants to share their local experiences. That's what was the thing that made it most special. I met a great bunch of people. You feel safe with them. Obviously, I was the guy that kept my camera with me the whole time and kept my money with me the whole time, and I was unsure about actually ever kind of letting that off me. But over the last day and a bit, I did start to feel a bit more comfortable doing so. You start to kind of develop that. I suppose it's an unwritten rule. My hot chocolate's on this way. It's a Whittaker. So we went to the one in Andheri West, not with service. The one in Andheri West was so slow. They completely ignored the fact that I had orders, just didn't even pull them out until I had to go and ask them for it several times. But this one, I mean, it's quite nice, a small one. Let's see how it goes. But yeah. Mumbai's been a total different vibe. Everyone here willingly speaks English. Everyone here looks like they've walked off a movie set. There's a little bit of attitude and arrogance that comes with it, but actually I didn't find that in the hostel at all. Those were some really, really grounded, down-to-earth people who were just willing to help. Actually, most of the people here, I was staying in Bandra, most of the people there were just willing to help. They could see that you were getting lost, so they were asking, where do you want to go? And they pointed you in the right direction. I've had a really positive experience. First day was mostly like living like a local. Second day was bougie Bollywood, bougie Bombay, you could say, like today was. But anyways, I'm gonna crack on with doing my post for today. I need to do some editing. In general, my reflections has to be for you, Afsar. Number one, be confident holding your camera. Like, I'm proud of you that the fact that you're actually sitting here in a coffee shop, people are watching, and you're just getting on with it. Do it, man. It's your business at the end of the day. You have to start making money from this, so take it seriously. Number two, don't be afraid to tell people what you do. You are a coaching psychologist. That's the best thing to treat it as, right? A counseling psychologist or coaching psychologist. Number three, own that you do research therapy. Number four, I would argue that you should, again, still do not be hesitant with negotiating, no matter how ridiculous it is. Let them, they see you as a local anyway, so just carry on doing so. And watch the pennies. Watch the pennies, but don't be so tight-fisted, obviously. You have a credit card, you have friends that can help you out, and of course you're going to go back to a proper, a decent job as well after. So let's wind this down so I can finish finish some editing, and go from there. Peace.
Thank you so much for staying with me on this journey in Mumbai. It has been a longer one than usual, but that's because there was so much that we crammed in just 2 days. So many wonderful people to pay tribute to. And of course, we are carrying on this journey in the next video in Goa. Stay tuned to find out more. Peace.